Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a close look at the upcoming game Back 4 Blood. This is the 4-player co-op first-person zombie shooter from Turtle Rock Studios, the creators of Left 4 Dead. When talking about development of the game, Turtle Rock said that they were getting tired of people riffing on what they originally created and wanted to work themselves on delivering a definitive next-gen co-op zombie FPS. Their hope with Back 4 Blood is to create something that's fresh and pushes the genre forward, taking what made Left 4 Dead fun and then adding modern day graphics and technology to enhance the experience. They say that Back 4 Blood will focus on a few key pillars, having thrilling moment-to-moment gameplay, offering great experiences for both 4-player co-op and competitive PvP, upping the scale of things with more enemies on screen, more enemy variety and larger enemies, and finally making sure there is loads of replayability thanks to their director and card systems. Now with all of these things, they say that they're not looking to just create a refresh or redo what they've done before. Instead, their goal again is to advance the genre forward. So the question is, will they do that? Well, Back 4 Blood is planned for launch in a couple of months from now, but there is a beta right around the corner. And as of this moment, we actually know a ton about the game, thanks to various feature videos, interviews, and gameplay that has been released. We know how the thing plays, details on the various game modes, the flow of matches, and what there is to do. And we also know about the 8 playable human classes, as well as the various types of zombies called Ridden. So what I want to do here today is cover all of those details, everything we know about Back 4 Blood so far, just to prepare you for the upcoming beta and the eventual launch. I'll say that I think this game looks really interesting, which is why I'm making this video. I don't make a lot of videos, and the videos I do make are usually about things that I'm interested in, and Back 4 Blood is looking pretty cool. I'm excited to get my hands on it, finally play it, and really dive in. But yeah, I like what we've seen and what we know so far, and that's what I want to talk about. Before we get into all those details, though, you guys know what time it is. It's time for the sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Elion, the upcoming MMORPG from the creators of Terra. Some of the game's main features include a large open world and action combat system that should be familiar to fans of the genre. There's deep skill customization where you can modify your character with these attributes and awakenings. There will be large-scale realm versus realm battles. You'll compete with other clans in these wars to gain control of these valuable portals and collect taxes. There's an extensive character creation system. You can gather, craft, and trade. There is open world PvP where players of opposing realms can attack each other anywhere. There will of course be PvE dungeons and PvP arenas, and a interesting dimensional portal system that you'll be using to find these high-end resources. So the game is set to launch later this year. Now you can currently add Elion to your Steam wishlist to keep track of the game and get notified of any updates. They're going to be running a closed beta test from August 18th to the 23rd. You can sign up for that from now until August 11th, and keys will start going out on August 13th. And then also there's going to be a giveaway where you can win an access pass for the closed beta test, and 10 winners will receive a $50 Steam gift card in addition to that access pass. If you're interested, go ahead and use the link in the description below. Okay, so now let's go ahead and jump in and talk about Back 4 Blood. So we know the basics. It is a 4-player co-op first-person zombie shooter. But what exactly does that entail? Like, what will you be doing in this game? Well, for starters, Back 4 Blood is made up of 2 primary modes. There is the co-op campaign and then the PvP. So the 4-player co-op campaign will have you going through numerous handcrafted missions that each take place in unique locations, and you'll move through fighting off hordes of Ridden, participating in these special events, and battling bosses. And then replayability and doing those missions over is going to be enhanced by this director and card system. So every single campaign mission takes place again on these unique maps. They're going to have their own narratives, their own stories, and objectives that you'll have to go through to progress and going through various encounters. You'll be starting out in this staging area, and this is basically where you select your equipment and loadout for whatever character you've picked. And then what's going to happen is you're going to see what corruption cards the director dealt you. So corruption cards bring modifiers to these missions, making things a bit more difficult. They'll do things like spawn in extra enemies or alter various aspects of the environment. But it isn't just bad cards. Players also have their own suite of cards that provide you with special boost that you will use to counter those corruptions. So after the team picks their loadout and the cards, and you've seen the corruption cards, you then make your way out into the mission. You will go through the level fighting off these hordes of Ridden, navigating through the environment and completing various tasks and objectives as you try to progress to the end. Along the way, you'll find all sorts of useful items like special ammunition, bandages to heal, unique gear. There are weapons like handguns, rifles, shotguns, and snipers, as well as various attachments for you to put on those weapons. And as I said, besides just fighting back hordes of zombies, you can expect unique encounters and events. Usually what's going to happen is you will have some specific task that you'll have to access, activate, and sometimes defend. As an example, you might have to make your way through to a construction site and then locate this control panel. When you activate it, it fills up this gravel pit, which will then give you access to the next part of the level. Every single campaign mission will have its own collection of events similar to this, and usually what happens is you will move from one event to another until you get through to the eventual end, and sometimes fight a special boss depending again on the level. And the entire time you're playing through and going through these levels, there is the director AI in the background monitoring your performance and then modifying the difficulty depending on how well you're playing. So the better that you do, the harder things will get. So that's a basic overview of how the 4-player co-op campaign looks. Again, there'll be a bunch of different missions. You'll move through them with various objectives. The director AI is in the background. You've got the corruption cards and then the player cards to counter those and change up your playstyle, and you'll fight off all sorts of different zombies. Now let's talk a bit about PvP. So Back 4 Blood's PvP mode is called Swarm. It is a 4 vs 4 mode of cleaners versus Ridden. Turtle Rock says that they want the Swarm mode to be balanced and fun and have just as much replayability as the campaign missions. Matches will be in a best of 3 format with each team of 4 players taking turns playing as both the cleaners and the Ridden. The job for the cleaner team is pretty simple. You will scavenge for supplies, try to find a good place on the map to fortify this location, and then survive as long as possible. Players will get to select from one of 8 available cleaner classes in the game. Each of these classes have their own special secondary weapons, have abilities and perks, and that basically fit different playstyles. Ideally, what players will do is try to pick a group of 4 cleaners that synergize well together to form an effective strategy to win. Now, the Ridden, on the other hand, is trying to kill the cleaner team as quickly as possible. So what they'll want to do is choose the right combination of Ridden to counter whatever cleaner characters and strategies they're doing. There will be 9 playable Ridden total when the game launches. Each of these also have their own unique capabilities and playstyles. Now, while the Ridden team plays, they will be collecting points, and they can then spend those points on these team-wide upgrades that are called mutations. These can do things like add special effects to their abilities, or even buff their AI allies, like increasing the swarm numbers and how deadly they are. So as the round progresses and you move through, these Ridden swarms start to come in, which will increase the size and the number of enemies attacking the cleaners, and then also decrease the available play space, all of this making it a lot harder for the cleaners to survive. Essentially what happens is once the cleaner team has been fully eliminated, points are scored based on how long they survived, and then both teams swap sides. So what'll happen is the team that stays alive the longest as the cleaners is the one who wins the match. Now, I do want to go into a little bit of detail about these cleaners and Ridden and the different options that are going to be available. As I mentioned above, there will be 8 cleaners in the game at launch, and these are basically classes. Each of them have their own unique weapons, perks, and are available to play in both the co-op campaign and PvP. The 8 cleaners are, there is Walker, who is focused on high damage and accuracy, along with boosting his team's health. Doc can heal without using items and is also more efficient at healing and provides resistance to debuffs. There's Carly, who can sense hazards in the environment, has quick inventory and team use speed speed. Jim is the sniper, has precision skills, increasing his damage, fast ADS, and a boost to weak spot damage. Hoffman is like the supplier. He'll spawn ammo whenever he gets kills, and also has bonus offensive item slots and increase to team ammo capacity. Evangelo can break out of CC easily, has bonuses to stamina regen and team movement speed. There's Mom, who is a support, can instantly revive teammates, has extra support item slot, and then also adds extra total lives available for the team. And then finally, Holly is a melee focused character, will recover stamina with kills, is resistant to damage, and adds a bonus to team stamina. So as you can see, each of those cleaners are very unique in their specialty. Again, they have their own specialty secondary weapons, and all of those boosts will be used to synergize. You'll try to find a good combination of 4 of the 8 total, and that's a lot of like potential combinations between them, right? And then you combine that with that card system, which I'll touch on a little bit more in a moment. Now let's quickly talk about the Ridden. So of the Ridden, there will be the common infected. These are like the basic zombies that will lumber around in groups. They'll come at you in hordes of various size in both the PvE and PvP mode. But then there are the specialties, and there's a few of these that I'll point out here. So for one, we've got the Snitcher. This is like an alarm zombie. It will alert nearby Ridden if it spots your team, so you'll want to take these out quickly. There's the Tall Boy, these massive Ridden with these club arms that they'll swing around. This will be very deadly and knock you back if you're hit. The Reeker is large and slow and can do things like explode on death. There's the Stinger, who can cling to any surface and quickly moves around the map. They'll also lock down players with their spit or pin them down. There's the Ogre, it's this massive Ridden that like throws chunks of meat. There are these Hags, which are assassins, breakers. There's just a wide variety of different zombie types or Ridden types in this game, besides just like the basic zombies. You're not just shooting hordes of zombies. There are a lot of specialty creatures. So now I want to touch on the replayability. We've talked about the specifics of the co-op campaign and how the PvP is structured. The replayability, as I mentioned, comes in 2 main forms. First off, it is the game director. So the main goal of the director is to make sure that no 2 playthroughs are ever the same. For starters, the director will be working constantly in the background, monitoring every player's performance on your team. They'll be checking things like your health, how often you take damage, how many kills you have, how effective you are at picking up all of the boost and bonuses on the map. And then based on how you're performing, it will adjust the action. It can do things like enhance enemies with bonus modifiers on the fly, or make various changes to the environment, just making things more difficult. But in addition to the director doing those things, the director will also be utilizing the card system at the start of the match, and this adds even more randomness to each playthrough, really, again, trying to enhance that replayability. So as I mentioned, at the start of every round, the director will play a set of these corruption cards to make things more difficult. The cards can do things like increase the size of the Ridden hordes, it can generate fog, making it harder to see, it can spawn these unique enemy variants like the specialty Ridden that I told you about a moment ago. It can create armored enemies that are resistant to bullets, it can make it so that less ammo and items will spawn on the map, or it can even cut the power and add a bunch of snitchers, which will force you to sneak around or else you'll get overwhelmed. It can add special challenges to the map beyond the main map objectives. So lots and lots of basically wrenches that they can throw into your plan, making it more difficult with this card system, with these corrupted cards. But as I mentioned, players also make use of a card system. They will get to select from their very own set of special buffs and bonuses. So you can do things like increase your ammo capacity, your reload speed, your health or stamina generation. You can make it so you carry more bonus consumables, or unlock special talents like getting infinite secondary weapon ammo, or making it so that long range kills restore health to you and your teammates. The game will have loads of cards to choose from, letting you create all sorts of different builds to fit various playstyles and situations. You want a specific build that's focused on being like a medic or a brawler or a demolitionist, you'll have those options based on these combinations. And as you play the game over time, you'll unlock more cards, opening up more options and more combinations, just adding an extra layer of specialization on top of the already 8 playable unique classes. This entire system between the director and the cards is meant to add what they're thinking is kind of like a roguelikeness to the Left 4 Dead formula, and trying to amp up the variety of each and every playthrough. So that right there is a basic overview of what we know about Back 4 Blood. The different game modes between the PvE co-op campaign, all of the variety that's going to come in there with the director and the card system, the objectives that you'll move through in every single mission, but then also that PvP. I really like these games that do this where you have asymmetrical PvP, you know, so there's one team of players and there's one team of zombies and they have different abilities and all this stuff. I like when games do that, and it's been a while since I've played a game like this, and for that reason and everything that I've talked about here and what I've seen, I'm super excited for Back 4 Blood. Again, like I said at the top, it's why I'm making this video. I only really make videos about games that I think look interesting and I'm excited about. So some interesting notes here. For one, there's a closed beta test happening very soon. This is actually going to be starting on August the 5th, and I do believe they're planning on doing an open beta, but I think it starts off being limited to just like pre-orders and stuff. There'll probably be keys available that you can get access to. If I see anything, I'll put it in the video description, link to registration or something. In the beta test, there's going to be access to both the 4-player co-op as well as the PvP modes, and I do know that this game also does plan to support cross-play, so hopefully that will be in the beta as well if you play on console, for example, and you have some PC friends and you guys want to play together. So I'm actually going to jump in here and add a little last-minute addition after I finish this video. As I was going around and looking at more information about this game, just because I was interested, I was noticing that there was a bunch of concern online about how this game is going to do, mainly because of the monetization with it. So essentially what's happening here is Back 4 Blood is going to be a full price game. There'll be a standard $60 edition that just has the base game. Then there's a deluxe version which has the game, 4 days early access, and then the annual pass, which will include some upcoming DLC story, characters, and Ridden that are added to the game. And then an ultimate edition which has all of that stuff plus 4 bonus skins and some additional in-game items. So what this tells us is there are going to be annual passes. We're going to have a season pass, and that is going to include additional upcoming content like story, new characters, new Ridden, and we can presume new maps and areas and stuff. And so once people figure that out, the immediate concern was, okay, so is this season pass is any of this upcoming additional content going to split up the community? Well, they have come out since and addressed it both in some interviews and also on their website. They have said here that in PvE, if your party leader has any paid content, so any of that DLC additional content or whatever else they may do in the future, you can play that content with them. Any maps, any gameplay, any new campaign stuff, as long as the party leader has purchased those things, all other people can access it. So that's at least good, knowing that there'll be a ways to play for people who don't buy additional stuff that won't split up the community and put people into these different hoppers. In terms of the PvP content, they said that anything that's new that comes to PvP will also be earnable in-game. So might be a huge grind, but again, at least they won't be splitting up the community. I'm curious, hopefully they at least make new PvP maps free so that you don't have separate hoppers for that reason alone. And then another thing also, this brought up the concern of microtransactions. So it looks like there will be microtransactions in the game, but they are keeping them to strictly cosmetic. We've talked about this a lot. I don't even love that, but I think it is like the least harmful offender. At least they're not going to be charging for cards. In an ideal world, there would be no extra microtransactions, right? I'm more okay with like paid content, if anything, especially being handled in the way that they are. We're not hard splitting up the community by letting people still play that paid content as long as someone in their party has purchased it. But anyways, there will be microtransactions. If that's a no-go for you, you should be aware of that. And I think the final big thing that is really, I didn't even think about this, but no mod support, and that's a really big deal for people because the original games, that was a big thing of it in the Left 4 Dead franchise. So people are upset that there doesn't look like there's going to be mod support in this game for people to make their own maps or game modes. I am less bothered by this because I can't think of the last modern game in the past like 15 years that had mod support. I mean, there have certainly been a few, but a majority of the games that I play nowadays don't have mod support. It isn't like when I was a kid, PC gaming, you know what I mean? Back in the 90s and early 2000s where like everything had mod support. I'm less surprised by that, but I totally understand because this is like a evolution coming from the people who made the original Left 4 Dead, and there's a lot of people who maybe have just been playing like Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2 for the past 30 something years, and they're like, hey, there's supposed to be mod support in your next version of this. But I'm not trying to downplay it either. I'm just saying for me, because I just don't expect mod support in games nowadays. Maybe that's a bad thing. I just don't, because I'm so not used to seeing it anymore. But yeah, I just wanted to add this to touch on those things. People are a little worried that this is a full price game, that it's also going to have a season pass, multiple like additional contents. Fortunately, it doesn't look like that will split up the community, but yes, there will also still be microtransactions and there will be no mod support. So there you go. Now you know. And finally, as of now, the game is scheduled to launch on October the 12th. So yeah, it is a few months away, but we do have a beta coming up just a few days after this video goes live. And yeah, I'm really pumped to check this thing out. Every month now recently, I've been doing these like upcoming games, and it's been getting me a lot more hyped for the games that are coming out. Now that I'm paying attention to what's on the horizon, it's getting me more interested. So maybe expect to see more videos like this. And I'm going to jump into the beta myself. I'll probably play a bunch, and ideally, I'll try to get you guys some coverage as well. I'd like to start doing some more gameplay videos where I show you gameplay of some of the new and upcoming games. So I'm thinking this will be one of those games. So stay tuned for that in like the next week or two. But yeah, that does it. That's about everything you need to know about Back 4 Blood, everything we know so far. We're going to know a whole lot more once the game is in our hands and playable, and we can really get an extensive look at it. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm stoked. I can't wait. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, all right? Take it easy.